Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the counteroffer. And I'm glad, Chris, you're on here because you and we had this conversation too. You're the other inspiration for today's class. All right, so you guys should know this at this point, but a lot of times what you guys are going through, the challenges that you are facing are quite frequently and quite often the inspiration for lessons like you're about to receive today. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about something that is a major tenet in our business. It is what happens when you get an offer and that offer is unacceptable to your client. What is the next step? And that step consists of when you get an offer, when you're listing a home and you get an offer that's unacceptable, what is the logical next step for you as an agent is to do what? Come on. You want to say it, Chris? I know you do.
To panic.
Say again?
No, to panic.
To panic. No, it's exactly the opposite. Remember, your position in this is you're not disinterested, but you kind of are. You don't have a game, you don't have a dog in this fight. Your role is to be impartial, to be unemotional, to not have an emotional attachment to this transaction. Okay, your goal is to be the calm, collected voice of reason. So when you get an offer that is unacceptable to your client, then do we just throw our hands in the air and say, all right, it's unacceptable, we're not going to respond? I strongly encourage you, don't take that position, and don't let your clients necessarily take that position. Okay, they may be insulted by the offer that they received. That is an unproductive emotion. I'm going to mute somebody. I think Corey, you got a whole bunch of background noise. I'm going to mute you a little bit. You're okay. So in that scenario, emotion and a knee-jerk reaction to not respond to an offer or to simply let it hang out there is unproductive at this point. Okay. There is an old adage that I learned when I was first in this business, and I'll introduce you guys to it too. Quite often in a balanced market, the first offer that you receive is typically the best offer that you're likely to get. Okay. Is that a guarantee? No. And I'm saying this in a balanced market. We've not been in a balanced market for quite a while, but I think we're starting to move back towards that direction a little bit. So it's important to adjust our standards based off of what we're seeing happening in the marketplace. Okay, so letting an offer go unresponded, to not respond back to an agent or to a seller that has presented the offer is in my opinion unproductive. All right, now here's the way that you might want to deliver that with your client when they're saying, oh no, what was it, Taz, 439 is unacceptable, when we have it listed for 450. So here's the way to deliver this to them is, look, you were anticipating and you were emotionally invested and you were excited to start receiving the offers until you received this one. Okay. Put yourself in the seller's position on the other hand. On the other side, they were excited to present this offer. And yes, it was lower than what you wanted, but it doesn't curb their excitement at all. They may be just trying to get the best possible deal, and they may be just trying to put that lowest offer in possible, but they may be sitting back going, well, okay, we'll just see if we can do this, and if not, then we'll go back and we'll counter back up to their asking price. But you never know until you try, right? So that's exactly what is quite often happening, and you're going to let that, you the seller, if you don't respond to their offer, you're going to let that happen, and you're going to let a potential deal die on the vine because you were quote unquote insulted by their offer. Not a good position to be in. Okay. And don't let them put you in that position. You again are the calm, collected voice of reason in this process, and you want to say, look, I encourage you, even though this is a way far off. We're not gonna sit back and just not respond to it. I encourage us to actually counter offer and respond to this offer with a counter offer that is acceptable to you. We don't want you to accept something that is not acceptable to you. So let's figure out what is acceptable, counter it back, and put the ball back in their court. I don't want it to die while it's in my court. Okay. If the ball is in my court, by golly, I am going to do everything that I can possibly do to get it under contract. And that includes countering, working with the listing agent or the agent, your co op agent on the other side. All right, I think we're way too far off. Where can we find some middle ground? Can you come up on this? Can you go down on that? Okay. So to that end, we're going to talk. Now we've talked about the the philosophy behind it. Now we're going to talk about the mechanics and the tools and how do you go about preparing, and presenting a counter offer. All right, everybody good so far? We're all on the same page now. Okay. All right. So I am going to share my screen. If I can get my buttons to work. All right, you looking at my screen right now, and hopefully you're going to see something that looks like the GAR counteroffer form. Am I right? You looking at the right thing now? Okay. All right. So the GAR counteroffer form, probably one of the most misunderstood and quite often the misused or mislabeled form. It is the GAR F249 counteroffer or modification of the unaccepted original offer. All right. Great form. Very simple, very easy. This is the main page with the meat and potatoes on it. We're going to talk about it in more detail. All right. I want you all to pay very close attention to these two highlighted sections. Previous counteroffers are rejected. When you present a counteroffer, the party making this counteroffer acknowledges that in doing so, it constitutes a rejection of the original offer as presented and all previous counter offers. Okay, so when you present a counter offer, the original offer is rejected. It is no longer available to be accepted. Okay. That is number one. Number two is exactly what I just said. The original offer and all previous counter offers are no longer available for acceptance. Okay, and then three, no previous counteroffer shall be considered a part of any agreement between the parties, and four, nothing requires the other party to continue the negotiations. All right, those are pretty important. So no previous counteroffers, only the last counteroffer and the original offer are part of the binding agreement. Okay, let's go down to paragraph 11 on this document. The following items and conditions of the original offer are modified as follows. Okay, so the boxes that appear in paragraph E, these are only the things that you are changing from the original offer. Okay, quite often you will see agents that will just repeat and fill in these same forms, these same fields with the exact same information that is in the original offer. While that is theoretically an acceptable way of doing it, it is technically not correct because you are only filling in fields that you are changing from the original offer. And according to these little parentheses and paragraphs, what goes in the other boxes should be this no change signification. Okay, so notice if I'm not changing it, I've not included it here in the counteroffer. So the only thing I changed on this entire deal was the sales price. Make sense? Okay. Do I need to say it one more time? The only thing that you put on this form is anything that's changed in the original offer. Everything else should have the no change or not applicable or whatever you choose to use. Okay, page 2 of the form. If you had one of the terms or special steps that that needs to be changed, this is where you would do it in the counter offer special steps section, where you would say any changes. You would strike out a particular special step that required them to provide the termite letter or something along those lines. If you were making a counteroffer to change something like that is in one of the loan exhibits that's in the offer, like you're not good with a 21-day finance contingency, but you want to change it to a 14-day finance contingency, you can do it right here in the special steps. You can also go to that actual contingency and do a strike through and initials on it there. Did I just confuse anybody? Okay. And then, of course, the signature page of the counteroffer form. It should be fully executed. And then, of course, this is your binding agreement date. When the counteroffer form is fully executed and signed and it is attached to the original offer that you received, and you have a binding agreement date, that constitutes your binding agreement date. Okay, that constitutes your entire contract. If you enter the binding agreement date on the counteroffer form, do you also enter it on the purchase and sale agreement form? I see one head shaking. No? The answer, Chris says no. Let's take a vote. Everybody, thumbs up for you agree, thumbs down you disagree. We have thumbs up. Yes, you are correct. You are absolutely correct. You do not fill in the binding agreement date on the purchase and sale agreement. You fill it out right here on the counteroffer form. Okay? All right. So the attached purchase and sale agreement does not have any of your client's signatures or initials anywhere on that 8-page purchase and sale agreement. Okay. Remember, what does a signature? I'm gonna stop sharing here. What does a signature on a document signify? That the client has what?
Agreed to the terms.
They've seen it. They've agreed to it. They've agreed to those terms. Okay. So if you have a signature on a counteroffer form, it means that the terms in that counteroffer form are applicable. If you have a signature or initials anywhere on that 8-page purchase and sale agreement that goes along with the counteroffer form, what does that indicate? That you agree with the terms of the original offer, which you've already said, no, we're submitting a counteroffer. Okay, so no signatures, no initials anywhere on the 8 pages of the purchase and sale agreement, only on the counteroffer form. Okay. Now, stumper question. What about the exhibits? What about the conventional loan exhibit? What about a temporary occupancy exhibit? What about an FHA or VA loan exhibit? Does your client's signatures and initials go on those? Thank you. You are correct. All right. So let me go back to my screen here because we're going to talk more in detail here. Okay, so the purchase and sale does not have any of your client's signatures or initials. The binding agreement date is only filled in on the counteroffer, not on the purchase and sale agreement. The accompanying exhibits that were submitted with the purchase and sale agreement should, however, be signed and initials. The reason why is if you wait until after the binding agreement date, it just creates an administrative burden. It's just one additional step to the process. So to be honest with you, if you're sending the counter offer over, it's just as easy to send the original offer and put the signatures in the right places on your exhibits so that you've got it complete. But again, remember, no signatures, no initials on your purchase and sale agreement. Okay. You then are you going to use the system Remind to combine your counteroffer form with the purchase and sale agreement and all of the signed exhibits into a single solitary PDF document. And you're going to have that single PDF available to return to your co-op agent so that they can, uh, accept your counteroffer, sign an initial as appropriate, bind it, and send it back over to you. Okay, so you want to give them everything that they need to be able to enter the binding agreement date. And if you're missing the accompanying signatures or initials on exhibits, you're going to miss out on and potentially have it not go binding when you want it to go binding as quickly as you want it to go binding. All right. Any questions on that at all? All right. When you do a counteroffer form, it is sometimes a little bit confusing because again, this is what this solution that I'm offering you is to clear up any confusion about how many times counteroffers went back and forth, and sometimes you guys sometimes it might take a while. It might take 3 or 4 or 5 drafts or offers and counteroffers to get to a deal. Well, that can be confusing at times, and there is a solution to that. Okay, and it is right here. Clean copy agreement. This is one of the paragraphs in the purchase and sale agreement. And what it basically says is anytime prior to closing, either party, if so requested by the other, shall sign a conforming or a clean copy of the agreement with the original terms of the original offer and any controlling supplements or provisions. Okay, so you would basically, after you go binding on the original, then you create what's called a conforming copy, and you add this little special stip into it that basically says that we're acknowledging that this is a conforming copy of an agreement between the parties, and it's cleaner and less confusing than the others. Essentially, is what this amounts to. Okay. I can tell you that I have done conforming copies maybe 2 or 3 times of my hundreds of transactions under my belt. It doesn't happen very often, but I want you guys to be knowledgeable and aware of it so that if you're in that situation where you're like, there's some really confusing things, we went back and forth, I want to make sure that my clients are clear on it, I want to make sure that all the parties are clear on it. A conforming copy can be a very clean, neat, easy way of doing things. Okay. If you do a conforming copy, strongly suggest you take on a partner like me or one of the other staff members here to look through and make sure the terms of your original offer and your conforming copy are exactly the same. Okay. Just take on a partner, have somebody else look at it, because typos happen, things happen. It's easier to make sure you're all on the same sheet of music. Okay. And so then you're going to create your offer, send it back over, and then what are you looking for at that point?
An
You want to
acceptance?
get it binding, right?
Fine.
Yep. Okay. What other questions do you have? We finished early, y'all. Okay, do y'all want to talk? Do you have any questions about Moxie Works coming out?
Well, I have one that's kind of on the subject of where you were, and I don't know if you want to do it separately or another day, maybe.
Go ahead,
but
Tiffany. What you got?
It's on if you need to withdraw after your due diligence period.
After when?
After your due diligence, well, during your due diligence period.
Okay.
So I had a friend who was going through the period, And as soon as the buyer got the inspection, he
report.
wanted to withdraw.
Okay.
And it was a little confusing on exactly what to say. Part of the reason was the inspection and just a lot of work, but it was
Mhm.
also something he saw happen in the neighborhood. So that he just wasn't comfortable with. So it's like I was like, wow, that's an interesting question. Like exactly so that the owner, the seller can't come back with anything like how succinct should you be, like exactly what do you say, or do you give any reason at all?
The reality of it is in the scenario that you just described, when you're in your due diligence, the client has no obligation whatsoever to provide any explanation at all. The due diligence period is I can cancel my contract for any reason at all or for no reason at all. Okay. And when you are submitting a withdrawal, or where you're withdrawing an offer, or you're terminating a contract, if you've already got a contract, you're terminating it. There are only three real reasons that are available to be checked on that form. One of them is the buyer's right to terminate their contract during due diligence. That's the main reason, and that's the reason probably for 90% of the terminations that are out there. Is a buyer has the right to terminate during their due diligence. So you simply check that box and there's no further explanation is necessary. The other two reasons are a default for a default on one of the parties. Failure to meet one of the requirements of the contract could be as simple as they haven't turned in their earnest money. They haven't submitted for loan approval or anything like that. Many reasons, but a default by one of the parties. And the other is an other category, which is simply to cover all of the bases, I guess. I can't think of a scenario where you would use the other category. Maybe the other is somebody died in the transaction. One of the principals in the transaction died. That could be a reason, an other reason, I guess. Okay, so there really are only those three, but the one that is probably the most prevalent, and I think the one that you're asking about, is a buyer's right to terminate during their due diligence. They don't need to provide an explanation. Would you want to tell, if it was something like they witnessed a shooting in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have that conversation with the listing agent and say, look, I'm sending you over the TNR. The buyer has a right to do it during due diligence, but just so you know, this is what we witnessed, and this is a major reason why he or she backed out.
So yeah, because the listing agent asked, and but this is another question I have a piggyback on that. So I've been seeing more and more listings that say no disclosures. Well, it was already under contract and the previous person backed out, and he just said they backed out because they got scared away of too much work. So, but my thing is, if he got anything that was told to him, like let's just say that the inspection came back as mold, well, now he has to disclose that, right? Because he's still going under no disclosures.
In theory, yes, he theoretically should disclose anything that came to light as a part of the inspection process. If he received the inspection report from one of the previous ones, then he would have an obligation to disclose that information. He may or may not have received that, and that's something that I wouldn't ask that question. I wouldn't try to pin him down. I wouldn't try to catch him in a catch-22. It is what it is. Okay. Georgia is a buyer beware state. Every buyer has a responsibility, whether disclosures are made available to them or not. Every buyer has a responsibility to make sure that their house that they are buying is the right house for them and makes the most sense. Okay. All right, folks, what questions do you have? Anything else? Okay. Taz, you want to chat? afterwards here in about 10 minutes. Give me about 10 minutes. I'll call you, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
For your specifics.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thursday, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, but it'll no doubt be good. It might be Moxie related, so be ready for that. All right, everybody.